Trump is once again in the crypto spotlight here, but it is not good this time. We've got a negative outlook based on a crypto regulation bill failing, halting. So let's take a look at what's going on and what that might mean for crypto as a whole. I'm Brett at CryptoGX, and today we're talking about a crypto bill that is failing in the US political environment. We got to take a look here because if we go over to my screen right now, we can see that cryptocurrency, one of the top related queries is crypto bill fails. And at first I was like, okay, what is this? So let's take a look at some of the articles and what's really happening here. We'll take a look at a few different sites here, but we'll just start off with CNBC. Essentially, what is happening here is that a series of pro-crypto bills in the House, which are all part of an initiative called Crypto Week, has hit a roadblock on a procedural vote. This headline here is looking a little bit more positive, but most of the articles here have a really negative outlook on how the kind of failing of this particular bill is going to have on, crypto as a whole. But essentially, the holdup here, as I read through this, is mostly due to disagreements. Some Republicans sided with Democrats about whether to bundle the bills together or vote on them separately. Among the stalled bills, a stablecoin regulation bill, a broader market structure bill, and a ban on the Federal Reserve issuing a central bank digital currency. Now, President Trump was pushing hard for all of these bills to pass, even pushing lawmakers at the White House and urging a vote as soon as possible. Now, the setback kind of had a tough effect on the crypto markets. Stocks of firms like Circle and Coinbase dipped before, at the moment, kind of rebounding. And you can see that here. It didn't move a whole lot. It moved, this was yesterday, Tuesday the 15th. There was a pretty big dip down, but it has rebounded, of course, since then. Now, let's move over to Cointelegraph. Here's a little bit less of a positive outlook in this particular headline, at least. It's neutral sounding. Just saying that the vote failed to get 100% Republican support despite Trump really wanting to. Trump apparently posted on Truth Social, his social media website, that the House failed to pass a procedural vote to advance what's called the Genius Act, which is the stablecoin bill, as well as the two other bills that I mentioned before. 13 Republicans joined Democrats in opposing the motion, not because they opposed crypto regulation, but because they wanted a stronger CBDC ban or other, some other changes as well. But the CBDC being the central bank digital currency, they wanted a stronger ban on that. Here was Trump's post that particular week, saying things like nobody does it better, as he says with everything, which is just funny. Now, there were some issues with kind of the ethics of these particular bills because Trump's own family affiliated stablecoin, World Liberty Financial, could see some benefits from these particular bills. But, you got to weigh the options there, because if all stablecoins are going to benefit, that doesn't necessarily make it unethical, because, all stablecoins should benefit when there is a bill that introduces legislation to help stablecoins. Now, that is kind of what you want to take up from it. You can take from it either way. Obviously, that's, something that I would imagine Trump is still going to be excited about if his stablecoin venture was going to benefit. But then again, the main thing is that you have to have all of the stablecoins benefiting for it to not be at least against regulations of presidents benefiting from their own policies and things like that. Now, another issue that Democrats have brought up is that these bills could have some corruption. The Democrats really are pushing for limits on the public officials being able to promote or hold crypto assets, which, obviously generally is something that most Americans would agree with. Public officials shouldn't be able to promote their cryptocurrencies and things like that. But, legislators that are in the House or in the Senate, they're probably going to want to promote whatever the hell they want. Okay, let's move on over to the block. The House scraps Tuesday's votes on crypto bills after procedural failure. So essentially, the House lawmakers voted 196 to 223 against moving forward with voting on the three bills. So the bills didn't even get voted on because there was a motion to not have the vote, which kind of says a lot that it couldn't even get to the vote at that point. I mentioned what these bills were for. They're called the Genius Act, which is the stablecoin bill, the Clarity Act, which is the market structure bill, and the anti-CBDC surveillance state act, which obviously is around the kind of CBDC regulation. Now, they planned to have the vote later in the day. They planned to try again later at 5 p.m. that day. But if these concerns continue, they're going to push to later in the week, and then I would imagine that it's probably going to get pushed even further. Now, the thing to really take away here is that there are Republicans that are pushing against this bill. Now, most often when Trump wants something done, it's within the realm of what the rest of the Republicans want, or they just kind of fall in line and do what he says, however you want to put it. But things generally go pretty well when the president is a Republican, other representatives are Republican that are pushing the things that, the president wants to do. Whether it's Republican or Democrat, if they're the same party, typically things go smoothly. So the pushback here is saying a lot about what's actually in these bills. Now, what should we really take away from this? Well, the main takeaway is that regulation is halting, and these regulations were meant to help bolster the crypto market. More regulation, in a certain sense, is kind of what a lot of the crypto market has been pushing for and hoping for, because then it allows more clear rules on how to make these investments, or, who's allowed to do what, essentially. So this setback really pushes or exposes some issues within the GOP over the crypto strategy. Some members kind of are, really demanding for the CBDC bans or procedural changes before advancing their legislations. It also kind of shows a spotlight on the ethical concerns tied to Trump's crypto ventures. He's got his meme coin, he's got his affiliated stable coin. There's some criticism of the policies, potentially shaping his personal financial interests. And then the midterm election, if I keep that in mind, the narrative around that might shift. There's a lot of crypto PACs that are able to position themselves, probably, I would say, influence a little bit of the Republican primaries, and that could complicate what's going on with the kind of unity of the GOP. If we're taking a look at, what this is going to do to the general crypto market, I would say that the formal regulatory clarity that we were looking for with stablecoins and digital assets in general is going to prolong the uncertainty for businesses and for investors. But at the same time, the confidence in the crypto market is already so strong at the moment. The crypto bull run is so deep that, we saw this week Bitcoin hit all-time highs. And if we pull up the Bitcoin price on coinmarketcap.com, let's just take a look at what this kind of effect had. Now, I've got the 7-day chart up here. Let's go back to yesterday, to Tuesday, when this really was announced. Bitcoin was about here, I would say, and it had this little bitty dip right here when all of this was announced. Not a whole lot. It recovered and went even higher. Now, we're not at all-time highs that we were the day before, but, obviously this dip is not lasting long. Now, in general, I would say the crypto legislation issue adds a little bit of volatility to the crypto market as a whole, based on, politics in the US having a huge effect generally on crypto markets, but solely because of the fact that this is not necessarily a backtrack. It's not a negative. It's not deteriorating what's going on in the crypto world. It's just a marker of a pause on this regulation that should have a positive effect. I think we're seeing just that. A little bit of a pullback there, back to our regularly scheduled programming within the Bitcoin bull run. So I think it's not going to have a long-term effect, especially because they're going to keep trying to push this. They're going to keep trying to perfect it. And I would imagine that it's going to end up being signed once they make their fixes sometime soon in the next, 3, 6, 9 months. So personally, I would not worry about this effect on the crypto market, but it is something to keep an eye on. Now, if you're ready to get into some crypto and you aren't yet, I've left links to Coinbase and crypto.com where you'll get at least $50 of free crypto just for signing up with those links. And if you're interested in meme coins, I left a link to MoonShot as well, so you can get some free meme coins just for signing up. If you learned something new or just enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and hit subscribe to stay tuned for all things crypto. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.